It's time for something that's just for us. It's time to unlock something new. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you're tuned in to the Bless Code. What did you see in me in the early days? What did you see?
Okay. You want me to be honest?
Yeah, what did you see?
So.
Here we go.
When I first met you, what I saw in you was this, arrogance,
You see what I'm saying now? Come on now. Come on.
You asked
Well,
the,
she can't.
you
she
asked the
can't be
question.
Thin, light-skinned, young boy who was just so full of himself.
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were so conceited and you really just
But I was
worked.
confident.
I see that now.
I was confident.
But you asked me in the beginning.
But that was your perception, though.
Yes, my perception when I was 12 years old, in my young 12-year-old mind, I thought that you was the most arrogant, most conceited person that walked in the hallways of Roosevelt Junior High School. And I think you knew that I really didn't care for you. At first I thought you were cute, but then once I started to
So how you thought I felt?
Be around you, I was like, oh, he's so arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
But then
what happened?
But then
you came to your senses.
No.
You took them blinders off.
No, you were just very persistent.
That's right.
You were very persistent.
That's right. I know what I want. I guess what I want.
Yeah. So I guess your arrogance eventually paid off. But now I say your arrogance is really just, you're a very confident man. And which I think why it works so well too, because I feel like it takes a very confident man to be behind his wife and let his wife shine.
So stay there, because I want to speak to that. The confidence that we as men must have. It is a requirement for me to be the man I am that God has created me to be. That is something that as men we lack, the confidence within thyself. The confidence. God has equipped us. He has given us the provision for all that we need. The confidence within ourselves. But these thoughts that continue to circulate in our minds, as the Bible says, as a man thinketh, so is he in his heart. These thoughts that are confusing you to impact your confidence. On the grooming side, fellas, we know we get the haircuts, we look good, we got the crispy fades, we look good, we feel good, we good. But we still are less confident after the grooming experience. It takes a confident man to say, my wife, my significant other, my girl, I got you. I stand with you. I support you. In fact, I want you to shine. I'll take the back seat. I want you to shine. I call it the gentleman's approach, but more importantly, I called it my duty to support my queen. Fellas, stand with me. I need you to receive this because this is something that we struggle with as men. We struggle with being able to support a strong woman. Women were created to be extraordinary as well. So I just want to build on that because we don't see it. We don't see the Melvin and Moniques. We don't see the alignment. We don't see the synergy. We don't see us working and building together. And so when you think about the stereotypes as it relates to, well, how do you all do it together? That's crazy. How are you going to run a business with your husband and wife? And then it's a black business. How does that work? Well, there's 2 or 3 and you are truly aligned to the end goal. What's the goal? What's the goal? What are we seeking to accomplish here? Right? Well, we wanted to create a life that we've always desired. We wanted to create a life that our parents hadn't seen. We wanted to create a life that our children and children's children would be proud of. We wanted to create a life where wealth was the normal conversation in the family. We wanted to create a life to where wealth was normalized within our communities. So what did we do? Together, we stepped out on faith and took the risk and created this unique story.
So Melvin, let me just say, number one, I think your message is spot on. We need our brothers, especially in today's time when, our queens are the most educated graduating college more than any other demographic, it is hard for the Black man, especially to feel confident right now. But me coming in to watch the two of you dynamic, it really highlights the power of, it really is couples goals. Like, you guys are living the testimony of the Bible. And while the outside world sees Monique as the face of the brand and, you know, the power boss, like, you are side by side making the decisions that enable her to also be at the forefront and do all the things that she's doing. But make no mistake, she's always going to make sure that her king is right beside her. She's never going to only make it seem like it's only Monique. It is always about your story, the power of your partnership, the fact that you two together, equally yoked, coming together, bringing your distinct talents together, and then respecting your role as her mate and making sure that you always get your flowers and you always get your respect. And she always makes sure that is seen externally inside the walls of Mayel. It is just beautiful to see the true partnership that you two have, and that she's not ever going to get lost in the sauce, because it's easy for things to go to your head because the outside world just really sees you and they don't see the man and the power and the force behind you. And you could have gotten lost in that and forget what the foundation was, but you never did. To this day, if a story needs to be told, it's going to be the Melvin and Monique Rodriguez story. And I respect that immensely. So the confidence that you have continues to be uplifted and reminded by the respect and support that your wife shows you. So I think that is just a beautiful thing and a beautiful example that we need to see more of in our Black community.
Yeah,
No,
thank you.
totally.
I appreciate
No,
that.
I agree.
And, you know, I do believe that, you know, as the Bible tells us as wives to submit to our husbands, I do believe that. And I feel that, you know, sometimes it can get a little confusing with women who think that submissive means that I'm weak or it means that I have no voice. But I believe that you can truly be a submissive wife if you have a husband who's properly leading, right? And, you know, I never, like, we don't operate with like gender roles per se, right? But he knows his position as a husband, according to the Bible, head of the household. I know my position as a wife and how I need to submit to him. But he still knows that I am a strong Black woman, and he knows that I don't take no stuff, right? And he knows that, like, I know how to hold my own, but yet I still know how to let him lead. And with him understanding that, I feel like it's easier for him to say, like, I'm okay with my wife being at the forefront because I'm confident in my position with her. I'm confident in who we are as a married couple. And because of that confidence, again, you know, there's no insecurity to say I'm intimidated if she's at the forefront. Because again, you know, I know firsthand what he has done to help build Mayel to what it is. Like, he's done things that, you know, probably no one will ever really know in depth, like how much he has pushed his brand to be the success that it is. But only me and him know that. And like I said, I'm truly grateful for his gifts and talents and him not being afraid to take a back seat and still work as hard as he's worked on the back end, while still people looking at me and giving me the credit for it because they don't see the whole full picture.
Brother Lewis, what would you say the most important lesson you learned from your mentors? There you go. So simple. It's so simple.
Just when you come from underserved communities, you only think about trying to get outside of that community. That's your dream, to get outside. But you can get outside and still, the world is so much bigger than that. I remember when we were working with a local high school in Chicago, and the kids came to my office in the Prudential building. And at that time, we were on the 43rd floor. And they came into my office and they wouldn't go to the window. And I'm like, go to the window. And they said, no. No. This is too high. This is too high. We don't want to look out that window. This is too high. We're afraid to look out that window. And we had to really push these kids to go to the window. And the point I wanted them to see, from my window, you could see all the way down the lakefront to Indiana.
Wow.
All right?
Wow.
That's the type of view. And on the other side of the office, you could see all the way down the lakefront to Hollywood Drive. All right? So you could see the whole lakefront from our office. And the point I wanted them to see how big this is. See how beautiful this is. You should want to have this. You should want to seek to have this, not just for the abundance of it, but for the influence, the power of it, the things that you can do for others of it. So even today, someone told me last week, you ain't thinking big enough.
Wow.
So the lesson I've learned is think big.
Think big. Think big. That is so profound, because small-minded thinkers do not put a path for waymaking.
Can I tell you this one story? When I was in college, I went to this booster's house, those who support the university. I had never seen a house this big in my life. I'd never seen this many luxury cars. And I looked at him, I said, man, how did you get all of this? And he said, let me ask you a question first. Tell me the things you love to do, and tell me the things you hate to do. I hate to go to class. I hate to practice. I hate to study. I love partying. I love having a good time. I love hanging out with my boys. He said, fine, now I'll answer your question. He said, master the things you hate to do, and it'll give you more opportunity to do the things you love to do.
Man, listen.
At 20 years old,
Man.
it hit me. He
Listen.
said, just master the things you hate to do. It's going to give you more opportunities to do the things you love to do, and you can have all of this.
I tell my kids, in order for you to be a part of the 1%, you got to do what the 99% won't. And it's on you. It is on you.
To be noted as one of the best of the very best in the history of the company when it comes to understanding how to take this platform that we have in WWE and utilize it for good. And I think that the exposure that we have, which we're talking about exposure in this episode, and the realities of it is that you get opened up to an audience of millions. We have the largest platform of any sports and entertainment group. You could take the NFL, you could take the NBA, you could take Major League Baseball, combine all of their following, and you still wouldn't even have half of what the WWE has when it comes to YouTube subscriptions, followers on Instagram.
Wow.
You got to think about all these characters that collectively have this platform that are real people that are playing characters. And so that's essentially for Thaddeus Bullard. I've been a proponent in people utilizing their real life stories. That's been a great asset for me to continue doing what God's positioned me to do in regards to being used as a vessel and an obedient one. When you're exposed to so many different elements of life, the good, bad, you know this, your wife knows this, the challenges of being a father, the challenges of being a husband, the challenges of being a business owner, a business leader, an author now, and getting ready to go on this book tour and try to tell people you're selling, you're constantly selling. And then we get into this position where this exposure of selling, now all of a sudden we have to put a hard stop at who we are for a living versus what we do for a living. And so Thaddeus Bullard does for a living consistently. The 8-year-old me and the 80-year-old me will never be too far apart, because the 8-year-old me is a kid that came into this world as a product of a rape. My mother was raped at 11, had me at the age of 12, told I'd be dead or in jail by the time I was 16, headed down that path, exposed to so many negative aspects of life, whether it was drugs or violence or crime, etc., abuse. and got exposed to a different part of life by going to the Florida Sheriff's Boys Ranch. And that's where I believe that God literally...
And what age was that?
I was 12 years old.
Okay.
12 years old. So I left my mom's house at 12 years old from Boynton Beach, Florida, went up to Live Oak, Florida, and I went from smelling train smoke and car smoke in the morning to horse manure and hay, etc. And it was a culture shock for me. And I was never exposed to horses and cows and etc. And I was only one of 3 black kids on the entire campus of 120 boys.
Wow.
With 1 black staff member. Being able to be on this episode of The Blessed Code and talking about exposure, I understand that based on how my life has gone, that exposure leads to expansion. And the right exposure leads to expansion. And I was exposed to some really good people that some of them didn't think that I was going to make it through at the Boys Ranch because I was fighting all the time and getting ready to get kicked off the Boys Ranch.
So this one you was labeled as the bad boy.
The bad kid, yeah. And
now why were you labeled that? What were you doing right at that time that enabled those actions? Was it anger?
Yeah, definitely anger. I never got into drugs or alcohol or anything like that. I was just an angry kid that didn't care much about authority, didn't care much about... I didn't feel like I had much to care about simply because everybody's telling me what you can't do, and then you're exposed to all these different people that aren't essentially doing anything either. And it's like you're in the projects, there's a dead end. You being from Chicago, probably similar mindsets of people in those neighborhoods. And you have to figure out how to sink or swim. And in most cases, you figure out the wrong way because you're around so many wrong influences. I wanted to be the cool kid. I didn't want to be bullied. I wore really thick glasses. My nickname was Eyes and Coke bottles and everything else in between. And so I believe that when I finally started realizing that I did not ever want to be like the people around me, God literally lifted me up from Boynton Beach, Florida, and put me in Live Oak, Florida. And it was there that I learned how to work. It was there that I learned how to treat people with dignity. It was there that I learned how to give people second chances or a first chance with strangers. You know, a lot of times we go into certain situations like, hey, I don't know if I want to really rock with them people there. They wearing this color or, you know what I mean? It's just like, so I've had the fortunate opportunity to be exposed to a lot of really good people. Getting to a space of comfort with knowing who I am was a process. It was a process that was painful. It was a process that there was some grieving involved. There was a process where there was a lot of failure involved. But because of those failures and because of those predetermined, uncontrollable things, and when I say predetermined, somebody else, we talked about labels. Somebody else had already predetermined that, hey, this kid only is going to be this way. And God predetermined something for me long before those people can even formulate an opinion. And throughout my life, I've had so many God winks that now my eyes are open to look at God and see things that He not only has brought me through and to, but things that He has helped me get others to believe and understand. And when you walk around with that type of confidence, knowing that people know that if this guy says he's going to do something, he's going to do it, and there's so much evidence that backs that up, why would I not enter a room knowing this is where God wants me to be? If I wasn't supposed to be here for one specific reason or another, even if it's for another person to see something with me that changes their stereotype of what people that come from my background look like or act like. Change their entire perspective. When I open my mouth and I speak to a room full of executives, I feel comfortable knowing they know I'm not writing one script. Don't ask me for a script going in. I've never written a script. I know my story. Y'all paid me to come tell my story and to inspire you. I don't care if people receive every single nugget in the message. I just care that whoever certain things hit, that it hits in a way that it hit me as a kid. This ain't my first book that I wrote. My first book was There's No Such Thing as a Bad Kid. And it was because I was told that at 12 years old, when I was getting ready to get kicked off the boys ranch after signing a contract saying that I would never get into another fight because I used to fight all the time. That was my response. And 30 minutes after I signed that contract, I got into a fight. So they had this big meeting, and the decision was made that I would be sent back home to Boynton Beach to be with my mom, who at the time I had a horrible relationship with my mom. I hated my mom as a kid because of everything that I had to go through as a kid with her and people around her. And Mr. Minogue came in and said, hey, the decision's been made for you to be sent home. I'm going to ask you a question and I want you to give me an honest answer. Why do you think you get into trouble all the time? And I said, I don't know, man. I'm just a bad kid. He said, pick your head up. There's no such thing as a bad kid. I'm going to tell you something and I want you to believe it. He said, I love you and I believe in you. Now, a lot of people are going to be pissed off that I'm not going to send you home. Even though we signed this agreement to send you home, I'm not going to send you home because I love you and I believe in you. A lot of people get told that they are loved and then turn right around. And a lot of people told me they love me, but then they abuse me, curse me, etc. Nobody had ever told me that they believed in me. It's always the complete opposite. You'll never be this. You can't do that. You'll never do this. And I had to realize at a very young age that I needed to start believing in myself, but I most importantly needed to believe that God had a plan for me.
There you go.
And once I started walking in that energy, nobody couldn't tell me nothing. I'm the same dude today that I was back then. It's just a different viewpoint of it. Because then when I tell somebody I was going to do something, they were doubters, heavy doubters, because of my circumstance and what I was exposed to and the people I was around, etc. Nobody doubts what I say now if I say I'm going to be something or do something. And that is a healthy arrogance that I possess, not based on my accomplishments, not based on my degrees. It's really based on the fact that why would I not believe that God has the best for me when he's shown me in every situation that he's had the best for me.
What I'd like for you to do is kind of touch on a bit, just briefly around your story and your childhood and your upbringing. And as we think about exposure and what you was exposed to and what that did for you and prepared you for where you are today.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that coming from anyone, but specifically from you, man, accomplishing what you have accomplished, to feel like, man, somebody sees me and they get it, and just have respect for your peers. That's amazing. But yeah, man, I come from humble beginnings. Like East Baltimore, man, is a rough place, right? And I often think about like, what's the difference between me and somebody that came from my community? Not even just me, just what's the difference between people that come from my community, went to my schools, lived in my building, or whatever, and in this exposure, right? I mean, outside of God has his own timing and his own favor on your life and whatever time that takes place. And then also, everybody has their own motor, right? And the gift of skills that they've been blessed with. But it's exposure. I know for me, people say like, if you knew better, you do better, right? But where do you know better from if everyone around you is doing the same thing and have the same thing, right? You're not exposed to something extra. So I think that for me, man, I've been blessed with micro exposures and macro exposures. And we talk about this. Once you see something, you can't unsee it. You know that it exists. Now it's up to you if you want to go try to achieve that. And for me, I was, my parents, my mother was a framer. So I got introduced to art at a very young age. And art is important in my life. One, because it creates creativity. She also sold my artwork that I used to draw at some of her local fairs. So right there, the level of having exposure of being an entrepreneur, seeing somebody be an entrepreneur, and then brought me into the entrepreneurship space at a young age was very helpful. Then when I got into golf, I used to jump the fence at my grandmother's. She lived in this apartment that was across the street from this golf course.
Wait a second now. Baltimore, East Baltimore, and you got into what?
Golf.
Golf.
Yes, randomly. I was at my grandmother's house. Me and my cousin, we used to climb the tree, play baseball with a broomstick and a tennis ball. And then I jumped the fence one day and I saw some golf balls. So I went over there, picked the golf balls up. Now it was a blind shot from up the hill, down the hill, and the next one was across the water. So then when they hit the ball from up the hill, I saw nobody. I picked up the balls. They came down. I was trying to sell them golf balls. They was like, bro, this is my golf ball. Get out of here. So then they hit the next shot in the water. So I went into the water and got the balls and like, hey, I finally can sell it to you, right? All this just not to extend the story, but through golf, like a pro pulled me up and said, hey man, have you ever played golf? I'm like, no. He was like, come to this thing on Saturday. I'm like, I don't have clubs. He gave me an old beater set. I went and I excelled. And then through that, I got to go play golf. I met different friends. I would go to their house. They would eat supper. I'm like, what is supper? We eat dinner, right? They sat at a table and they ate macaroni and cheese and everything, but I would get to go to their homes. And when I'm going to their homes, very similar to the story with you and Monique, I was driving past people's houses and I was looking up like, man, these are some incredible homes. Like, who lives here? How do you get there? And I wanted it, right? And I wound up buying a house in that same community years later. But when I started caddying, I caddied in the U.S. Girls Junior Amateur for Lorena Ochoa's best friend.
The U.S. Girls?
U.S. Girls Junior Amateur. I caddied in that. And I met them, people from out the country, and just how they move with their family and their dynamics, how they invest in their kids. I met other seasoned professionals. Like through that golf, man, it really transformed my life. I formed relationships, exposure, and it just made me a significantly different person than a lot of the people in the community that I came from.
Wow. So exposure. And when you think about where you were then and the idea to tap into the mental health space, and that led you to create BTST, what would you attribute to that? Why did you want to create that?
So I was working, I had a clothing store, right? So my first business, I had a clothing store. I used to work at this screen printing shop, and they never paid me, but they let me print my clothes for free, right? And it was child labor laws being violated all over, right? But they let me print my clothing for free. So I grew this company in 10th grade to I had wound up having 3 or 4 stores. I got a small business loan, but I was always ready. I stayed ready. So like when these opportunities came, I could hop on them. So in that, business got slow at time. So I started working at a group home. I would do overnights at a group home. I would go to get my master's degree during the day, work at my store, work at other organizations, and then do overnights at a group home. And then through this process at these organizations I was working at, I was able to see like some of the flaws of the organization and the areas that they weren't being most beneficial to the clients. And from that, I decided to fill the void.
Wow.
I brought my ideas to them. They didn't want to do anything about it. To each his own. So I said, you know what? I'll create the company that I want to see, and not even just from a service perspective, but what I want my staff to feel. Like I would see people get talked to in ways that I didn't think were great and stuff. So I took all of these experiences and exposure, good and bad, and I created what I wanted to see, and that became BTST. And I would work at these other organizations. I would go pick the ownership brain, just get any information, become a student, man. And it really helped me create the company that we have today, man. It was built off of the things that I didn't like in the areas that I felt were missing.
At what point in your life did you begin to realize it was up to you?
I felt I was being, somewhat hypocritical. I would go out with my dad at night. He basically hustled. He took me out to go hustle. We would go hustle, and basically we go shoplift items. I go in the store, package things up, take them out of the store. He would take that, sell those things to fuel his substance abuse habit. And so at night, I'm a kid going out at night, hated every minute of it. But I was with him, I got a little pocket change. I got to go buy candy and, McDonald's on occasion if things went well that day. But here I'm living a life of doing the wrong thing at night. And then I'm going to Catholic school during the day and I'm praying and I'm asking God to forgive me for my sins. I'm doing this every day. And it just sits with me when I'm sitting in church and sitting in the pews, in the road. And I'm like, this is hypocritical. How can I do this every day? How can I go out and be this person doing wrong things every day and yet show up at school and say, God, I want another chance? Every day. It has to stop. This has to end. It can't be this way. So I felt a lot of pressure. I felt a lot of guilt. I'm 9, 10, 11 years old. I'm not a mature child by any stretch of the means. I'm put in a highly mature situation in terms of the life we're living. But I didn't have a lot of stuff figured out. I'm still trying to be a kid. I'm still trying to find my way, but I got to carry the weight of running the household. I got to carry the weight of being a big brother, protective. I got to carry the weight of being a good student, which I was a good student. And at the same time, decipher is wrong better or is right better, or can I actually do both? Because I was doing both. Wow. And then at some point it hit me is that wrong is going to lead to more wrong, right is going to lead to more right. And that was when I decided, probably at 11 years old, I'm on this whole path now where right is right for me, no more shortcuts. Dad had gone away, so like, okay, now the deck is being clear for me to start processing this in the right way and do the right things.
Thank you for joining this episode of The Blessed Code. Living by His Code is a journey full of grace, growth, and opportunities to bless others. If today's episode spoke to you, please share this powerful message and don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with us on social to stay grounded, grateful, and blessed. Until next time, keep your faith strong, your heart open, and live life you're destined for. I'm your host, Melvin Rodriguez, and you just unlocked another Blessed Code.